In China, an explosion occurs in a chemical factory in Liuhe, Hubei province.
Reports say the blaze sparked at an electronics store and spread to another factory where the blast occurred. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Lianes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. arrives in Berlin to strengthen the Philippines' ties with Germany.
China objects to the Philippines' joint oil exploration activities with other allied countries.
Multiple nations' envoys gather for an emergency summit to address the spiraling crisis in Haiti.
The United Kingdom test fires its cost-efficient, high-powered laser weapon.
And two Filipino boxers punch in their ticket to the Paris Olympics, raising the number of representative athletes to 6.
Las Vegas, Nevada,
España, Paris, France,
United Kingdom,
Washington, D.C.,
London Bureau, Papua New Guinea, in New York,
Washington, D.C.
Mata ng Agila,
Mata ng Agila,
Mata ng
Mata ng Agila International.
Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. together with First Lady Luisa Araneta Marcos have arrived in Berlin as part of the Chief Executive's 3-day working visit to Germany. Previously, Philippine Ambassador to Germany Irene Susan Natividad said that President Marcos's foreign trip is aimed at bolstering the strategic partnerships between the two nations towards achieving peace and progress. President Marcos himself said during his departure statement that his trip would create opportunities to further enhance the bilateral ties between the Philippines and Germany.
So, as we embark on that journey, I'm confident that this visit will yield fruitful outcome. I look forward to having productive discussions, fruitful collaboration, and memorable experiences that will further cement the enduring ties between the Philippines and Germany, and of course, the Czech Republic too.
President Marcos is set to meet with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz as well as business leaders in Berlin to boost trade and investment opportunities. The president will also meet with the Filipino communities in Germany to relay to them his administration's program for the Filipino migrant workers. Meanwhile, the chief executive is also set for a state visit to the Czech Republic between March 14 and 15.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has rebuffed China's proposals to address the maritime disputes in the West Philippine Sea, describing it as contrary to Manila's national interest. The agency disclosed that it received several concept papers from Beijing on maritime-related proposals. In a statement, the DFA said, and I quote, "While a few proposals were deemed somewhat workable, many of the remaining Chinese proposals were determined, after careful study, scrutiny, and deliberation within the Philippine government, to be contrary to our national interests." The agency highlighted any agreement with a foreign government should be in the mutual interest. DFA added that agreements also should not undermine the Philippine Constitution or even diminish the country's rights under international law.
Meanwhile, Filipinos using social media are flagging a TikTok account saying it is spreading lies or doubtful information about the maritime tensions involving the Philippines and Chinese vessels in the West Philippine Sea. The TikTok account, Media Unlock, is posting clips of reports claiming the Philippines has dispatched ships and military vessels to intrude China's Renai Reef and Huangyan Island. Renai Reef refers to the Ayungin Shoal, while Huangyan Island speaks of Bajo de Masinloc. The same TikTok account also claims the Philippines has broken its promise to China. Filipino social media users posted comments on the TikTok account saying Media Unlock is spreading false accusations, lies, or misinformation. Some Filipinos Filipinos also said the Philippine vessel was not even aggressive since the boat was not equipped with cannons and just wanted to deliver some supplies to BRP Sierra Madre. Independent research studies and many news agencies have said that China has allocated funds to spread online disinformation to campaign its territorial claims in the Asia-Pacific region. Last March 5, the Philippine government castigated China, saying its vessels harassed, blocked, deployed water cannons, and executed dangerous maneuvers to halt a routine resupply and rotation mission to BRP Sierra Madre at Ayungin Shoal. The Chinese use of water cannons also shattered the windshield of the Philippine vessel, injuring at least 4 personnel on board.
Last 2 years, I think this is the worst because it resulted in personal injuries. The other water cannon only resulted in damages to structures, to the propulsion system of the supply boats, but this time it has personal injuries.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. previously denied China's claims that the Philippines promised China to remove the BRP Sierra Madre at the Ayungin Shoal. In 2016, an international arbitration court also ruled that the Ayungin Shoal and Bajo de Masinloc are within the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines.
Tensions have risen in the South China Sea as China expresses objections to potential oil and gas exploration involving other nations in the region. This response follows Philippine Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez' recent mention of the country's potential collaboration with allies like the United States, Japan, and Australia to develop oil and gas resources in the West Philippine Sea. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin reiterated China's stance that discussions regarding maritime disputes and resource exploration should be conducted through negotiations and consultations among the relevant countries. He emphasized that any involvement of foreign countries in the territorial issue would be viewed as interference in China's sovereignty, potentially exacerbating the situation. The involvement of foreign nations in the South China Sea has long been a contentious issue, with China asserting its territorial claims and opposing external interference.
The Philippine Navy has initiated training for its personnel in preparation for the expected arrival of its newly acquired South Korean-made corvettes. According to Navy spokesperson Commander John Percy Alcos, these vessels are 2 guided missile corvettes currently under construction at the HD Hyundai's Heavy Industries shipyard in Ulsan, South Korea. He mentioned that the first corvette is scheduled to arrive in the second semester of next year and that the Navy has commenced the procurement of essential equipment to ensure the readiness of personnel upon the arrival of these new acquisitions. Alcos also stated that Navy crew members assigned to operate these new ships will undergo training in South Korea, where they will receive instruction from the original equipment or manufacturers. These corvettes will be outfitted with cutting-edge weapon sensors and systems designed to address a variety of maritime security challenges, including anti-air, anti-surface, and anti-submarine warfare operations.
The Department of Budget and Management supports the amendment of RA 9184, or the Government Procurement Reform Act, to help government agencies utilize their budgets efficiently. In a statement, DBM Secretary Amena Pangandaman said that this is a significant step that will promote transparency, efficiency, and good governance, aligning with President Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s vision of a new Philippines. RA 9184 seeks to modernize, standardize, and regulate the procurement activities of the government. Senator Sonny Angara sponsored the measure to be referred to as the New Government Procurement Act, or NGPA. Angara notably spoke on the crucial contribution of public procurement in the previous year, emphasizing that the Procurement Act contains the rules that must be followed to spend the funds on programs and projects to which the funds will be allocated. In the final reading approved by the House of Representatives in December 2024, DBM is mandated to operate a centralized procurement system for the whole government and work with other offices to introduce such amendments with the goal of allowing transparent and cost-effective procurement activities for the government. The measure also seeks to adopt an electronic procurement system that would promote greater transparency, aided by the modernization of the Philippine government electronic procurement system, so all procurement activities can be monitored.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, bans on e-trikes, e-bikes, traditional tricycles, and other small vehicles on national roads in Metro Manila will take effect on the 15th of April. MMDA Chairperson Romando Artes, during a press conference, said, and I quote, "We will implement this by April 15, but we will still consider those other suggestions. They agree that it needs to be regulated." Artes said the statement follows a public consultation with stakeholders. MMDA Chair also asks the stakeholders and groups to submit their position papers, including their suggestions regarding the ban. He also added that the department wants to determine the different e-vehicles so the government can identify other vehicles to be covered in the ban. Commuter groups are now opposing the ban, claiming that there were no public consultations conducted when the Metro Manila Council resolution was passed on February 28. Under the General Appropriations Act of 2024, there is an allocation of 1 billion pesos for the program allotted for the construction and maintenance of active transport bike sharing systems and safe pathways. Meanwhile, the Make It Safer movement raises their concern that banning the e-vehicles on major roads in Metro Manila violates the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, which promotes the use of e-vehicles. MMDA says that violators will be penalized with a 2,500 peso fine.
Coming up, U.S.-UK airstrikes hit key port in western Yemen. Critics react to India's divisive citizenship law. And why did Haiti's prime minister resign? Stay tuned. Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
Wala si Mama. Sinusundo po nung kanyang mga kaibigan.
Bye! See you tomorrow!
Hinatid ako.
Ni Tita Sheila.
Hindi, ni Gordon.
Lalaki?
Ay, babae bang Gordon?
Pero pagka may kailangan, sino unang tinatawag? Siyempre, ang nanay.
Let's get together, Sunday 25, Sunday 25.
Abangan sa Lutong Daza.
Favorite natin lahat, Pinoy Merienda Classics. Busog sa sarap, busog sa tawanan kasamang walang kakupas-kupas na si Bayani Agbayani.
Espesyal ang ating handa. Meron tayong pansit gamit ang 4 kinds of noodles, pork siomai,
Turon with a twist at masarap na ginumis. Saan ka pa?
kita-kits sa Lutong Daza.
Let's get together, Sunday 25, Sunday 25.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Russian, Chinese, and Iranian Navy ships are holding a joint exercise in the Arabian Sea, staging from the port of Chah Bahar in the Gulf of Oman. The exercises also involve aircraft from the 3 countries. The said war games will run from March 12 to 15. The Russian Defense Ministry, the main purpose of their maritime security belt drills is to ensure the safety of seafarer economic activities. Envoys from the militaries of Azerbaijan, India, Kazakhstan, Oman, Pakistan, and South Africa are attending as observers.
According to Russian state media, a South Korean man has been detained in Russia on suspicion of espionage. Btic Air was arrested in the far eastern city of Vladivostok at the start of the year and is currently being held in a Moscow jail. He is believed to be the first South Korean detained in decades in Russia on spying charges. South Korea officials have confirmed the arrest and say its diplomats have engaged in talks for his return. Little is known about his case, with South Korea's foreign ministry saying the details were under investigation and it is difficult to comment on the issue as consulate representatives are attempting to provide support for the individual. An anonymous source in Russia's far eastern region, who claims to be an acquaintance of Mr. Btic, alleges that he had been supporting North Korean laborers working in Russia and helping them escape. Mr. Btic's detention is the latest in a series of arrests of foreigners made by Russian authorities since the war with Ukraine began 2 years ago. This includes Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un's meeting and high-profile visits last year, which analysts believe spawned military technology deals.
Airstrikes attributed to a U.S.-British coalition hit ports, cities, and small towns in western Yemen, killing at least 11 people and injuring 14 while defending commercial shipping. The strikes come just days after the first civilian fatalities and vessel loss since the Iran-aligned Houthis began attacking commercial shipping in solidarity with the Palestinians under attack by Israel. Despite reprisals from the U.S.-British coalition and other navies, the Houthis have escalated their campaign of attacks on commercial vessels in one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. That came days after the sinking of the cargo ship Ruby Mar, which went down about 2 weeks after being hit by a Houthi missile weeks ago. Many ships are now making the longer, more expensive trip around Africa's Cape of Good Hope to avoid the dangerous route through the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea to the Suez Canal, effectively raising shipping costs.
Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán says former United States President Donald Trump has told him that he would not give a penny to the war in Ukraine. Prime Minister Orbán claims that if Trump wins the presidency again, the war between Ukraine and Russia will end. He asserts that it is obvious that Kyiv on its own cannot stand on its feet. Orbán often calls for a ceasefire and peace talks in the Russia-Ukraine war. He also supports Trump and believes the latter is best qualified to end the conflict between Kyiv and Moscow.
Hong Kong published its draft of new national security law. Hong Kong is fast-tracking the new legislation which imposes life imprisonment for treason and insurrection. Some legal experts who have seen the 212-page bill say the new law gives the police expanded powers. China's critics were quick to comment on concerns about any impact on rights and freedoms. But supporters of the security bill welcome the legislation as a constitutional obligation that would strengthen Hong Kong. Security Chief Chris Tang also stressed that innocent people will not be brought to justice by mistake, citing the requirement to still prove criminal intent.
India's Interior Ministry says it is enacting a citizenship law that critics say discriminates against minorities. The move comes just weeks before the world's most populous country heads into a general election. David Oria has the details.
While some in the country celebrated the law, others protested. The measure gives Indian nationality to Hindus, Parsis, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, and Christians who entered India from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh before December 2014, but not if they are Muslim. The government passed a law back in December 2019, but delayed implementing it because of widespread protests and deadly violence. More than 100 people died in the chaos. On Monday, the Ministry of Home Affairs said the rules would now come into force. Many among India's 200 million Muslims fear the law is a precursor to a national register of citizens that could leave them stateless in a country of 1.4 billion. Many poor Indians do not have documents to prove their nationality. Prime Minister Narendra Modi denies this. He says Muslims are not covered by the legislation because they do not need India's protection. Human Rights Watch calls the law discriminatory, adding that for the first time in India, religion is a basis for granting citizenship. David Oria from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Kazakhstan opens a trial against a former economy minister accused of killing his wife in a restaurant. This is a case that has shocked the Central Asian country, where domestic violence is rarely discussed in public. Rose Papaangelis has the details.
Former aide to autocrat Nursultan Nazarbayev, Kwandik Bishimbayev, is accused of beating his partner Sultanat Nukinova to death last year. 43-year-old Bishimbayev's high-profile trial opens in the capital. Journalists, however, were not allowed in the courtroom. Bishimbayev faces up to 15 years in prison for killing 31-year-old Nukinova in a case that has shown the spotlight on violence against women. The case of a high-profile official going on such a trial has shocked authoritarian and largely patriarchal Kazakhstan. Kazakh news agencies report that female prosecutor Azan Aymaganova describes in court how Bishimbayev killed Nukinova in a VIP hall of a central Astana restaurant. Bishimbayev has pleaded not guilty. He was already sentenced to 10 years in prison for corruption in 2018. He was, however, freed a year later after an amnesty. The case has led to a renewed campaign for women's safety in Kazakhstan. The UN estimates that around 400 women a year are killed in femicides. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev calls on authorities to strengthen legal mechanisms to punish domestic violence after the Bishimbayev case. Feminist organizations urge the government to do more. Rose Papaangelis from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Parachutes carrying humanitarian aid from Jordan fall from the sky following an airdrop in northern Gaza. Rosel Feria has more details.
Footage released by the Jordanian army shows Jordanian soldiers airdropping aid on the Gaza Strip. Multiple countries again airdropped aid into northern Gaza. Outgoing Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh, however, says aid could be delivered more efficiently via 5 land borders. Gaza's deadliest war shows no signs of abating amid a grueling humanitarian crisis pushing much of the territory to the brink of starvation. Rosel Feria for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has mobilized troops to rescue nearly 300 children who were abducted by gunmen from a school in the northwestern region of the country. This incident comes in the wake of another kidnapping, where at least 15 pupils were abducted from a different school in the same region by unidentified gunmen. Kaduna State Governor Ubasani has assured the public that local governments and security agencies are diligently working to ensure the safe return of the abducted children. However, Nigeria is facing significant challenges as they are already stretched thin while combating a religious extremist insurgency in the northeastern part of the country. The scale of the kidnapping crisis in Nigeria is alarming, with statistics revealing that between July 2022 and June 2023, 3,620 people were abducted in 582 separate incidents across the country.
Polish President Andrzej Duda says NATO members should increase their defense spending to 3% of GDP. This in response to the Russia-Ukraine war. Mayfanway Zaragoza reports.
NATO currently has a defense spending target of 2% of gross domestic product. Poland, however, already spends around 4%. Polish President Andrzej Duda says he wants to propose in the near future that NATO members decide together that the alliance requirement will be to spend not 2, but 3% of GDP on defense. He says that will be the threshold below which it will absolutely not be recommended to go. Duda and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk will meet Tuesday with the U.S. President Joe Biden. This to mark 25 years since Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary joined the Western Defense Alliance. Duda says NATO must give a clear and courageous response to Russian aggression. He says this response will consist of increasing the military capacity of the North Atlantic Alliance. Duda adds that NATO is a defense alliance, and defense means that if someone threatens, the alliance reacts. In a separate video addressed to the nation, Duda calls his proposal the best response to today's threats to international security. Mayfan Zaragoza for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry has agreed to step down from his position amidst mounting pressure and escalating violence in the impoverished nation.
Gouvernement ap dirije après Conseil des ministres aswe accepté pour mettre en place un conseil présidentiel de transition. Membre conseil sa yo pral choisi après une entente entre différents secteurs de la vie nationale. Le gouvernement que m'a dirigé a retiré l'école immédiatement après installation conseil ça. Il a continué à expédier affaires courantes jusqu'à ce que désigné un premier ministre et un gouvernement.
The decision comes after heavily armed gangs orchestrated chaos in an attempt to force Henry out of office. For more than a week of unrest, these groups set fire to police stations, stormed ports and prisons, and besieged the capital's international airport. In a video address from Puerto Rico, where he is currently residing and is unable to return to Haiti, Henry called for calm and urged the population to await a transition of power.
Haïti besoin de la paix. Haïti besoin de stabilité. Haïti besoin d'un développement durable. Haïti besoin de rebâtir institutions démocratiques.
Criticism had been mounting against Henry's leadership, with many Haitians questioning his governance in the absence of an elected president.
In Jamaica, U.S., Canadian, French, and Caribbean envoys meet to address the spiraling instability in Haiti. Gang violence has crippled the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince, and forced foreign diplomats to evacuate over the weekend. E.J. Gonzalez tells us more.
Armed groups control much of Port-au-Prince, as well as roads leading to the rest of the country. They have unleashed havoc in recent days as they try to oust Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Henry has been in power since the 2021 assassination of President Jovenel Moise. He had been visiting Kenya in search of support for a UN-backed security assistance mission when the last burst of violence broke out. Henry was unable to return to Haiti last week. He landed instead in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico, where he remains at present. To discuss the crisis, the CARICOM group of Caribbean nations summons its leaders, as well as envoys from the U.S., France, Canada, and the United Nations to a meeting in Kingston, Jamaica. The U.S. State Department says Washington sends its top diplomat Antony Blinken to the meeting to discuss a proposal developed in partnership with CARICOM and Haitian stakeholders to expedite a political transition in Haiti.
I think today's meeting on Haiti, so critical, bringing CARICOM together, is testament to Jamaica's leadership in the hemisphere that we share. Leadership at a critical moment for Haiti, but also a critical moment for all of us.
Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley says everybody agreed to the urgent need to establish a presidential council and that this would be required to help identify a prime minister.
And they all agreed that the security situation needed to be contained as soon as possible, and that the establishment of the presidential council would be critical to that.
Meanwhile, Guyanese President Mohamed Ifran Ali, who is the current CARICOM chair, says talks to bring stability and normalcy to Haiti are ongoing. Haitian stakeholders, however, are not where they need to be. Ali describes reports out of Haiti as dire. Reporters say bodies are lying in Port-au-Prince streets, and according to the International Organization for Migration, some 362,000 Haitians have already been displaced from their homes. E.J. Gonzalez from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Meanwhile, a state of emergency has been declared in the Bolivian capital of La Paz. Heavy rain has caused flooding in several parts of the city. Myla Simbulan has that story.
The weekend rain has caused rivers to spill over their banks, wreaking havoc in La Paz. Bolivian residents scrambled to build retaining walls to hold back the flood waters. The floods have disrupted utilities in parts of the city, leaving people without electricity and drinking water. Several homes have been destroyed. At least one death on the weekend has been attributed to the flooding. Bolivian President Luis R. says the government will send equipment and troops to help residents. More rain is forecast for parts of Bolivia in the next few days. Authorities warn that it could trigger additional flooding and landslides. Myla Simbulan for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A study made by the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, or IHME, says that COVID-19 caused the average life expectancy of people worldwide to fall by 1.6 years during the first 2 years of the pandemic. This marked a sharp reversal during a decades-long rise in global life expectancy. IHME researcher Austin Schumer says during 2020 to 2021, life expectancy declined in 84% of the 204 countries and territories they analyzed. Mexico City, Peru, and Bolivia were some of the places where life expectancy fell the most. Schumer believes the lowered life expectancy worldwide has demonstrated the devastating potential impacts of new viruses. IHME also estimated that the rate of death for people over 15 rose by 22% for men and 17% for women during this time. But there was some good news in the updated estimates of the IHME. It said that 500,000 fewer children under the age of 5 died in 2021 compared to 2019, continuing a long-term decline in child mortality. IHME urged world leaders and health experts to focus on the next pandemic and addressing the vast disparities in health across countries.
The trial of British hedge fund trader Sanji Sha, charged with defrauding Denmark of $1.8 billion, began on Monday. Reports said the criminal proceedings will be closely watched by tax authorities around the world. Sha pleaded not guilty and said he had not violated Danish law. But prosecutors argued he fraudulently obtained a dividend tax refund from the Danish treasury via trading schemes that flourished following the 2008 financial crisis. Sha could face up to 12 years in prison if the Glostrup District Court in Copenhagen finds him guilty.
Chinese technology giant Xiaomi says it will start deliveries of its first electric vehicle this month, marking its first ever foray into the competitive automotive industry. China's fifth largest smartphone maker has announced the Speed Ultra 7 as part of its $10 billion investment in the vehicle business over the next 10 years. The Speed Ultra 7, or just SU7, will feature super electric motor technology capable of accelerating faster than some Tesla and Porsche EVs, supposedly made as a response to bigger firms like BYD and Tesla in the world's biggest car market. According to Xiaomi, it has 59 stores in 29 cities around the country to take orders, hoping that the car's shared ecosystem with its phones and other devices will appeal to existing customers. The SU7 will be made by a unit of state-owned car manufacturers, BAIC Group, at a plant in Beijing that can produce as many as 200,000 vehicles a year. The launch of Xiaomi automobile, coming as a price war in China's EV market, has been intensifying, but the car's price is expected to be announced on March 28 of this year. Xiaomi shares jumped by more than 10% in Hong Kong after today's announcement.
Up next, 2 pilots of Indonesia's Btic Air fall asleep mid-flight. Greenpeace wants marine protected area in Galapagos. And UK launches a low-cost alternative to missiles. Please don't go away. We've got more stories when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Ba't ba napakainit ang ulo mo?
Hindi ba init ang ulo ko? Mainit ang panahon.
Oo nga pala. Tag-init na nga pala ngayon. At dahil dyan, may tips kami para sa'yo. Ngayong Fire Prevention Month.
Bunutin sa saksakan ng mga appliances pagkatapos gamitin.
Iwasan ang pagkakasaksak ng maraming devices sa isang extension cord.
Itabi ang mga flammable item sa ligtas na lugar.
Laging isara ang gas tank kapag hindi na ginagamit.
Magkaroon ng fire extinguisher.
Stay cool and chill.
Huwag makisabay sa init ng panahon.
Break the open!
Ha? Break?
Break?
Break? Bakit may boyfriend ka ba?
May boyfriend ka pa?
Paano ka nagka-boyfriend?
Oo, saan nakasulat yung schedule niyo sa bato?
Lingid sa kaalaman nyo, nakikipagkita ako kay Milo dito sa bahay.
Mukha Kicks, pakasal na tayo.
May asawa yan, ano?
Ay,
Masama yan, ha?
oy, mapanghusga kayo. Biyudo na yung tao.
Di
Tito
ba?
mo ka, dapat lang pag ako na naglakad ng ganito, gumaganon, maaabot kita ng kamay ko. Di ba? Ayaw mo to dumapo dyan sa mukha. Diba?
Teka naman, kaibigan. Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Aerospace giant Boeing whistleblower John Barnett is found dead in his truck in the parking lot of a South Carolina hotel after he failed to show up for the second part of his testimony for a lawsuit against Boeing. Barnett had served as a quality manager at the North Charleston plant responsible for producing the cutting-edge 787 Dreamliner. According to reports, a 62-year-old Barnett died due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Barnett's lawyer, Brian Knowles, had an explicit doubt about it, saying that the self-inflicted gunshot was merely alleged. According to Knowles, he and his co-counsel tried to call Barnett's cell, but the call went directly to voicemail. He then asked the hotel to check on him, and they find out that he had already died. Barnett testified on allegations that under-pressure workers deliberately installed substandard parts to aircraft on the production line. Meanwhile, Boeing released a statement on the death of their former employee, saying, "We are saddened by Mr. Barnett's passing, and our thoughts are with his family and friends." Barnett worked in Boeing for 32 years and retired in 2017.
A United Airlines Boeing 777 flight was forced to land moments after its takeoff due to a major fuel leak. The plane took off with fuel shooting out from underneath as it took off the runway in Sydney, Australia. In a statement issued by United Airlines Media Relations, United Flight 830 departed from Sydney Kingsford Smith Airport at 12 p.m. local time. Less than 2 hours into its ascent, the Boeing 777-300 aircraft returned to Sydney, but the airline's media relations did not specify the cause, labeling it as a maintenance issue. 16 crew members were aboard the San Francisco-bound flight, along with 163 passengers who were provided overnight accommodations and flight rebooking. Over the last week, there have been a total of 6 United Airlines flights that have faced problems, prompting them to make emergency landings and return to their points of departure. One of the planes lost a wheel during takeoff, which caused damage in a parking lot in the San Francisco airport. Another flight's engine ingested bubble wrap, lighting it on fire lighting it mid-air. The previous week's United Flight 2477 veered off the runway and into a grassy area, forcing its 160 passengers and crew members to depart the plane using air stairs on the open runway. The airline said the incident was because of an issue with the plane's hydraulic system. Boeing, the U.S. aircraft manufacturer behind the planes, is also under critical scrutiny following the series of quality and safety issues. Fire responders rushed to a chemical factory after a fire and a subsequent explosion occurred at the facility in Liuhe, Hubei province, China. Reports said the blaze sparked at an electronics store and spread to another factory where the blast occurred. Authorities have evacuated nearby residents as a precaution. Meanwhile, local officials said that they have restricted nearby roads to facilitate the movement of emergency vehicles.
Residents of Saudi Arabia are enduring a severe sandstorm. Parts of the country typically see sandstorms of varying intensity between March and May. Jeff Sanidad has the details.
The group of skiers included 5 members of the same family. They ranged in age from 21 to 58. They left the luxury ski resort town of Zermatt Saturday with the goal of reaching the tiny village of Arola later that day. They never arrived. A storm set in while the skiers were in the vicinity of the Tete Blanche mountain at an altitude of over 3,500 meters. Police spokesman Christian Varone described weather conditions as catastrophic, with freezing temperatures at a significant avalanche risk. A member of the missing group managed to reach rescue services by mobile phone, allowing them to pinpoint where to search for the skiers. But Varone says weather conditions prevented a quick rescue. On Sunday, rescuers found the bodies of 5 of the 6 people. An investigation has been launched into the tragedy. Ralph Cornell from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Argentina is sending federal forces to the city of Rosario to confront drug gangs blamed for the deaths of 4 innocent bystanders in recent days. President Javier Milei wrote on the social media platform X that he is acting in response to a request from the governor of Santa Fe province, the capital of which is Rosario. Ken Cruz reports.
Rosario has become a hotspot for the movement of drugs from Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay headed to Europe and Asia. Federal forces are going to Rosario in central Argentina after 4 people died last week in violence blamed on drug trafficking gangs. The victims included 2 taxi drivers, a bus driver, and a gas station employee. The provincial government says the gangs are hitting back after the governor imposed harsher imprisonment conditions on high-profile inmates doing time for drug offenses. In the killing of the service station worker, attackers left a note in which they demanded rights for prisoners in jail and threatened to kill more innocent people. Fed up with drug-related gang unrest, last week, Santa Fe Governor Maximiliano Pollaro released a flurry of photos of shirtless and subdued prisoners lined up under the watch of heavily armed police. After the release of the photos, drug gangs hit back with attacks that left the 4 bystanders dead. The governor also promised to finish construction of a long-delayed maximum security prison. Rosario has a murder rate 5 times the national average. Ken Cruz from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Greenpeace is calling for the creation of a high seas marine protected zone under a new UN treaty to secure a much wider area around Ecuador's famous Galapagos archipelago. The islands are home to one of the world's largest marine protected areas in the eastern Pacific Ocean. Thomas I. Likeness reports.
The Galapagos Islands are about 1,000 kilometers off the coast of Ecuador. Greenpeace is carrying out a scientific expedition in the region, which is home to some 3,000 marine species. They include sea turtles, hammerhead sharks, sea lions, and marine iguanas, to name a few. Marine biologist Stuart Banks says protection is in place for the Galapagos.
But that means very little if we don't also consider how these areas are ecologically connected.
Greenpeace says just outside the Galapagos protected area, industrial fishing fleets continue to plunder the oceans, and Banks says that's why it's important the preserved zone be expanded.
So if we can't protect one area like Galapagos, together with other areas like Cocos and the areas, the key kind of corridors that connect those areas between them, then one particular area on its own isn't able to function properly.
Banks says the biodiversity in and around Galapagos is irreplaceable. Greenpeace is urging governments to ratify the so-called High Seas Treaty. It was adopted by United Nations member states last June to allow for the creation of an expanded protected area in international waters outside of any country's jurisdiction. Thomas I. Likeness from Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Indonesia's Btic Air is under fire after two pilots fell asleep mid-flight for 28 minutes in January with 150 people abroad. The incident occurred on a round-trip flight between Halu Oleo Airport in Kendari and Soekarno-Hatta International Airport in Jakarta. On the flight back to Jakarta, the 32-year-old commanding pilot tasked his 28-year-old co-pilot, who rested during the first leg of the trip, to take the wheel so he could rest. A little while after, the PIC woke up and asked his co-pilot if he wanted to rest, which the then co-pilot dismissed. 20 minutes later, the co-pilot inadvertently fell asleep as well, making the plane veer slightly off course. After 28-minute radio silence, the pilots responded to Jakarta's calls and landed safely, leaving no harm to the passengers and no damage to the aircraft. The two pilots were suspended and Btic Air is under investigation because of the incident. Although Btic Air proclaims that it operates with adequate rest policy and that it is committed to implement all safety recommendations, according to the investigation of Indonesia's National Transportation and Safety Committee, or KNKT, Btic Air must develop a personal checklist evaluating pilot impairment called I'm Safe before performing any flight duty. KNKT did not find any detailed guidance that the airline follows the I'm Safe checklist and its procedures, citing that the absence of detailed guidance and procedure might have made the pilots unable to assess their physical and mental condition properly. Btic Air's safety emergency procedures contain a policy that the cockpit of the planes should be checked every 30 minutes. KNKT's investigations found that the policy doesn't have a detailed description of the procedure, its process, and the right professional who should be responsible for it. KNKT concluded that the absence of these detailed procedures might have made the policy unable to be implemented properly. Authorities castigated Btic Air, with Indonesia's head of transport, Christy Enda Murni, saying that the airline should pay more attention to its crew's rest time. The same airline was forced to have an emergency landing after one of its pilots fainted in an incident in 2019.
India has announced it has successfully launched its homegrown missile with multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle, or MIRV technology. Indian scientists claim that they have integrated the missile technology, allowing multiple warheads to be delivered to different targets after being fired from the same missile. New Delhi noted that the current missile is the latest in India's nuclear-capable Agni missile series. Dubbed Agni V, the ballistic missile has a range of 5,000 kilometers. India's breakthrough in missile technology follows the countries that use MIRV missiles. Among those countries are the United States, the United Kingdom, France, China, and Russia. Meanwhile, UK successfully fires a high-power laser weapon for the first time against an aerial target, hoping that it will pave the way for a low-cost alternative to missiles shooting down airborne targets like drones. The Ministry of Defense says that the Dragonfire weapon is precise enough to hit a coin from a kilometer away. Laser-directed energy weapons use an intense light beam to cut through their target and can strike at the speed of light, literally. Defense Secretary Grant Shapps says that this technology could reduce the reliance on expensive ammunition while also lowering the risk of collateral damage. Both the Army and the Royal Navy are considering using the laser technology as part of their future air defense capabilities. The range of the Dragonfire system is classified, but it is a line-of-sight weapon, meaning it can attack any target within visible range. The development of laser weapons comes amid the increasing use of drones in warfare, which is seen during the conflict of Russia-Ukraine.
Coming right up, two more Filipinos joined the impressive Olympic roster for the Philippines. And see why Dev Patel got a standing ovation in South by Southwest. Catch the latest in sports and entertainment. Mata ng Agila International will be back.
Ba't ba napakainit ng ulo mo?
Hindi mainit ang ulo ko. Mainit ang panahon.
Oo nga pala, tag-init na nga pala ngayon. At dahil dyan, may tips kami para sa'yo ngayong Fire Prevention Month.
Bunutin sa saksakan ng mga appliances pagkatapos gamitin.
Iwasan ang pagkakasaksak ng maraming devices sa isang extension cord.
Itabi ang mga flammable item sa ligtas na lugar.
Laging isara ang gas tank kapag hindi na ginagamit.
Magkaroon ng fire extinguisher.
Stay cool and chill.
Huwag makisabay sa init ng panahon.
Hours after Kensington Palace released the photo of Princess Kate with her kids, some of the world's biggest news agencies issued a kill notice to the image. But what does it mean when news agencies issue a kill notice? Love and Sison reports.
A kill notice to an image generally refers to when a picture has been retracted by agencies to advise clients to remove the photo and no longer use it within their coverage of a story. Reports said the application of a kill notice against a royal photograph is rare, and such notices generally are uncommon within the industry. Eric Baradat, director of photography at AFP, says Princess Kate's edited photo is a major communication failure from the royal side to distribute the image. Baradat explains the edited photo raises doubts and will only create rumors and make the public doubt about Princess Kate.
It's a major communication failure from their side to distribute such an image, which raises doubts, will only create rumors and make us doubt that she's as well as they want her to look. And that's how it was important for us to tell it and to kill the picture and to communicate to our subscribers. Yeah. We sent this image to clients because it was a long time since we didn't see the Princess of Wales. It was a question of our public presence, and we trust Kensington Palace. Usually they send us pictures of the royal family in their various activities, celebrations and everything. And it's a common practice for our London office to get those images from Kensington Palace, from the press service of the royal family, and distribute it to our subscribers around the world in confidence.
A person with no knowledge of editing photos cannot easily notice that the image of the princess was edited. But Baradat says if a person zoom in all around the face of Kate, on the skirt and hand of her daughter, on the sweater of one of the princes, there are altered digital traces that show some parts of the image are not realistic.
It's contrary to every journalistic standards, contrary to every guidelines we have for our own editorial content. It's absolutely a red line that was crossed there in terms of journalism. Our job is to report the news, to take pictures all around the news, but it's also to verify the news and also question the images that are given by third party. Like in that case, there's so much misinformation, disinformation going on. Today, images are manipulated as text is manipulated, as declarations can be manipulated, and we have to be vigilant.
Meanwhile, Princess Kate has been pictured leaving Windsor with Prince William a day after the controversy over an edited photo that Kensington Palace released. The Princess of Wales could be seen looking out of the window in the latest photograph. The palace confirmed that Princess Kate left in a car with Prince William. The prince went to the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey in London, but Kate did not attend the royal event. Sources said she had a private appointment. Love and Season from the United Kingdom, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Boxers Nesty Patecio and Ira Villegas emerged triumphant in their respective divisions in the World Qualification Tournament, increasing the Philippines athlete roster for the Paris Games to 6. With Olympic berths on the line, Nesty Petesio and Ira Villegas made sure not to waste their chances. The two Filipino boxers secured their places in the Paris Games after emerging triumphant in their respective divisions in the World Qualification Tournament in Busto Arsizio, Italy. Petesio booked a return trip to the Olympics after clinching a top 2 finish in the women's 57 kg category with a 4-1 split decision over Turkey's Esra Yildiz. The Tokyo Games silver medalist, Petesio, flaunted her ring savvy as she built a 2018 lead in 4 of the 5 judges' scorecards following the first 2 rounds. Meanwhile, Villegas survived Bulgaria's Zlatislava Shukanova, but not after a tight contest that saw 3 of the 5 judges settle for a tie. The Olympic ticket appeared to slip out of Villegas' hands when she got knocked down in the 3rd round after a right straight to the head from Chukanova. But the pride of Leyte brushed the fall off and finished the fight. Petesio and Villegas will join fellow boxer Yumir Marshall in Paris, increasing the Philippines athlete roster for the Olympics to 6. Also qualified for Paris are pole vaulter EJ Abiena and gymnast Carlos Yulo and Aliyah Finnegan.
Absolutely delighted. That's why those two things.
Dev Patel's directorial debut, Monkey Man, premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival, receiving a standing ovation for the John Wick meets Mumbai action-packed thriller. Gerald Blanco has the scoop.
At the South by Southwest Film Festival, which runs from March 8 to 16, actor Dev Patel showcased his directorial debut in the movie Monkey Man. After many setbacks originally set to premiere on Netflix, the action thriller had its world premiere March 11th and received a standing ovation. Apart from directing the film, Patel co-wrote the screenplay with Paul Anjanawella and John Colley. In a move of avid support, renowned actor and director Jordan Peele of Us and Get Out fame saw the movie at a screening and purchased it from Netflix, bringing it to Universal Studios under his own Monkey Paw brand so that the movie could be released in theaters instead.
And I cannot say enough about the man I'm about to introduce here. This is a guy who, all I can say is I've never seen someone pour his heart, soul, body, mind, and energy into a film, into a story, more than this man. And he's done it for us to enjoy this film tonight. I introduce the director, the writer, the producer, and the action star.
Monkey Man stars the former Slumdog Millionaire star with a top-notch cast that includes Sharlto Copley. It centers on an underground Mumbai fighter who takes revenge for the murder of his mother. The film has been compared to John Wick, but Patel said he was inspired by the 2011 Indonesian action thriller The Raid and classic Bruce Lee movies. Monkey Man is scheduled to be released in the United States on April 5. Gerald Blanco for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And to send you off this Tuesday night, here's a quote from Anthony Kiedis, American musician and singer-songwriter for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It seems like the chaos of this world is accelerating, but so is the beauty and the consciousness of more and more people.
We just all really have to believe that we have the ability to make that difference.
And whatever difficulty we're facing, it should make us stronger and better people. And before we say goodnight, if you are ever still on the road right this moment, please tune in to Eagle FM 95.5.
You can also catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Elago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.